Do you think that at this point, every institution effectively is looking at Bitcoin or is forced to have that conversation in the boardroom? Or do you think that there are still some where it hasn't really reached their shores?
I spend probably 20% of my entire week, every week, both talking to institutions, presenting to institutions, answering requests. They're all over this. Everybody is. Everybody, if you talk to anybody from Galaxy to Lucre to any of these companies that see the onboarding, NYDIG, all they're seeing is wall-to-wall requests, incoming, onboarding. It takes a while. People don't understand that, for institutions to go, oh, well, we're going to buy Bitcoin. Okay, how do you mark to market it? What is the open? What is the close? Which price do you take? There's no single exchange. Then how do you custody it? How do you account for it? All of this stuff takes months of work.
Which is interesting because it's been a year since MicroStrategy first purchased Bitcoin. We saw Tesla come in. Then Michael Saylor hosted a meeting of 2,000 CFOs or representatives from companies. And there was this sentiment that by March or April, we would see 100 more companies adding Bitcoin to their treasury. And it didn't happen. Then obviously we saw the correction. People could argue that that's a reason that they didn't come in then. But do you think it's just a function of what you just described? It's going to take 6 months or a year, 18 months?
It's a function of two things. For institutions, it's a function of what I talked about. It just takes time. Right? There's a lot of people to get across the line and you need to appease a lot of people. For the corporations, it's how you account for it in GAAP accounting. This is the big problem, is you can only mark it down, you can't mark it up, and it has volatility in your quarterly earnings. So only people like Michael Saylor will accept it, others won't. So everyone's trying to figure out, can we get GAAP accounting rules changed? Or if not, is there a vehicle that will be able to allow us to do it without putting it on the balance sheet? Is a way of having it off balance sheet. So that's why the corporations are slow. They want to do it. I've spoken to many, but they're like, these accounting rules, we don't know what to do.
Saylor's a bit of a unicorn. I mean, he's in a position where he has enough control to make that move and has, I guess, the balls to say, if you're not on board, see ya. Right. But I don't think we're going to see many more companies adopt at that level. Right. I think we'll see more that do the 1% to 5%.
When the rules change, it makes total sense. At that level, no, it doesn't make sense for companies because he's basically bet his whole company on this, and that's okay. But for Microsoft to do it, no. But they do manage a huge amount of cash, and it's a very good instrument for them. And we even had a paper commissioned at Real Vision about portfolio effects, and it's incredibly powerful. So they want to do it. It's just hard.
So you mentioned the Pareto principle earlier, the 80-20 for the networks. Is that generally your view on how many of these coins in general will survive? I mean, we probably have 10,000 coins on CoinMarketCap at this point. I haven't looked, but what happens to most of these?
Yeah, the 80-20 rule. I mean, this is like the dot-com boom. How many survive? Not that many. But, yes, it's okay to play with these small ones, but you need to know what you're doing, or just take a very small position and realize that you're hugely speculative. You're trading penny stocks, and they can go bust at any time. Or you can build a proper portfolio and think about risk management and understand that not all of them will work as well as you want, but you're going to only get involved in the top 30 or 40 coins. And then you may take an individual bet because you particularly like Audius or something like that. That's okay. But, don't go looking for penny stocks to try and get rich, because it's proven that virtually nobody ever gets rich from penny stocks. Generally, they end up in prison or broke.
That is absolutely true. And you sort of touched on the
Wolf of Wall Street being a classic example.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you talked about maybe next March as sort of a cycle top for Ethereum. Do you view either Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any of these assets as generational investments? Or is it still a trade where you're looking to exit at a cycle top?
Well, you can trade a cycle, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you've cheated on your girlfriend. You can trade a cycle. If you want the dirty truth, you should never own Bitcoin. The actual truth is you should own alts or stablecoins, because when Bitcoin outperforms, it's generally when the markets are falling. And in which case you shouldn't own Bitcoin. You should just own stablecoins. And when the markets are in a bull run, generally the alts outperform, particularly the large alts, so like Ethereum. And therefore, at that point, you should own those. And maybe you should never own Bitcoin. Now, that's the extremity of the whole thing. So my view on this is, I think the space the market cap of the space goes up 100x from here over the next 10 years. So call it from 2 trillion to 200 trillion. I mean, that's ludicrous. We've never been faced with an asset class that does that in all recorded history. in a period of time like this. So the cycles are going to be important occasionally because you don't really want to sit for 2 years not making money. You might be able to make money in other stuff. But, generally speaking, you want to keep some into it. And, some people will keep all into it. I won't. I will take some off the table and do other stuff. And I will then look for the time to get back in again when I think it's going on its next move. Now, maybe we've eliminated the cycles altogether now and that it's smoother and it trades sideways for 2 years. That's possible too. I don't really have a view, but I won't be 100% my net worth the entire cycle. That doesn't make 100% sense to me.
Yeah, but would you be 20?
Oh yeah. And knowing that 20 could go down to 8 because of, the market's I have no issue with that whatsoever.
What is your take on, at this point in either the cycle or just in the general life of crypto, on its correlation between other markets?
I don't think it's correlated at all. I think the only correlation, occasionally, there's passing correlations, but they don't last. The correlation generally is central bank printing tends to rise all asset prices. So of course that features in Bitcoin's price as it does in gold and equities and real estate and art and all these other things. So that's probably one of the larger drivers, but it's not correlated. Why? Because it's a network effect asset. It's different. It's not just a rare asset. It's a rare asset with network effects. Okay, we haven't seen any of these before. This is why it keeps confounding people in how it moves. Network effect rare assets never existed before.
So somewhat inversely correlated to the dollar, which goes down when they print money.
Well, the dollar versus other currencies, that's not true. The dollar, that kind of denominator fiat purchasing power. Yes.
Yeah, we've talked about that before. Being you can be bad, but if everybody else is worse, the DXY still rises.
That's right. I mean, the dollar's going up right now, But yes, you're right. It's somewhat correlated to that. But I've always said it's the store of value which would go up and down with that. But it's a call option on the future. That's the network. And the whole space has got the same attributes. Some is more speculative, for sure, because we don't know how the network's going to get used.
I mean, can't we assume that central banks are trapped and are going to continue printing somewhat endlessly in some way, shape, or form?
So last year, we had the biggest recession in all recorded history, and it only lasted 2 months because we threw more money at it than any other thing in that 2 months than had ever happened before by a factor of God knows what, 10. So Jay Powell and Janet Yellen sit back in a room and go, we did pretty well there. And they kind of did. They kind of did for the economy.
Yeah, they did.
And for people who owned assets, it's like, okay, the world didn't fall apart and we stopped a recession. So why are they not going to do that again at any opportunity? I mean, they now go, well, Christ, we avoided the financial crisis. And then we avoided the biggest insolvency in history over the pandemic. Well, let's keep using this magic tool because it's the gift that keeps on giving. They're not going to say, well, we're not going to take it out of the box until it's a really special moment. They'll be like, fuck it, the S&P's down 10%. I'm opening the box.
Yeah, unload the big guns.
Yeah, of course. That's human nature.
Right, but what's the end game of that? Do stocks literally just only go up?
Yeah, because of the denominators falling. So are Venezuelan stocks going up or not? No, when you put it in dollars. So, but my view on this has been, and who knows, none of us have a clue. My guess is this parallel universe, more people migrate across to it. So the end of the existing system ends with a whimper, not a bang. Because
enough people have already left and migrated to a superior system, and it effectively just dies a slow, quiet death.
Correct. Where it affects
interesting take. And what's gold's role in that transition?
I think gold will always play its role, and it will go up in value over time. It just doesn't have this call option effect, which is why, Peter Schiff gets angry because Bitcoin keeps going up versus gold. Yes, because it's gold plus. It's as simple as that. Gold will do its thing, and all of the people who've trusted in gold for millennia, it will still maintain its value. So if you look at real estate versus gold, or equities versus gold, art versus gold, all of these things, they're all roughly in line where they should be. Nothing's wildly overvalued. Gold is the anchor pricing of the world. It's the stable coin of the world. So I think that continues to work. I mean, I follow a basket of gold versus 27 currencies, excluding the dollar. And all it does is it goes sideways, 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 money printing, up. sideways, 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 money printing up. It's like it
Taking the
perfectly does what
stairs.
it's supposed to do. It kind of suggests that global currencies since 2008 have been devalued by 65%.